Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a weight loss hypnosis session, but specifically in the area of alcohol consumption. And many people look at the macros as carbs, fats, proteins. But actually, I would say there's a fourth macro, and that is alcohol, because for a lot of people, that's where a lot of their weekly calories come from. And it doesn't really have that much function. And not all of the alcohol is a carb, because you can have dark spirits, very low in carbs, but still quite calorific from the alcohol content. This particular client, it was wine for them. And for them, it really felt like in the week, they didn't need it. When they were in work mode, they could be focused on the gym, eating well, and they were making great progress. But on certain evenings, weekends, certainly vacations, it felt like they would go off the rails, and that it was almost framed as a binary decision. They were either on the wagon or off the wagon. And when they were on, they were very focused. And when they were off, they would do whatever they want. And that would have a consequence. And they knew that because they would feel the guilt and the frustration and the shame that they were undoing lots of really good choices. So in this session, it's framed very much as an ability to train the brain in the same way that they were training the body in the gym. And I asked this client a question. I said, do you lift weights in the gym? And they said, yes. And I said, what would happen if you lifted very, very light weights? And they said, well, you wouldn't get any benefit. And then I said, well, if you were to think of making decisions, if the decisions are so easy, you're not getting better, you're not making any progress there. And once they framed that actually what they perceived to be temptations and distractions as an opportunity to train that part of their mind, took on a whole different connotation. So there's that element within this, but also this idea of optimization. And I posed a binary question for this client. I said, well, look, if you had a choice of being lean and fit and strong and healthy, but you never enjoyed your downtime, or if you really enjoyed your downtime, but you were overweight and not that strong, what would you choose? And for them, it was obvious. They would choose a pleasurable life, an enjoyable life. And that's how most people frame it. They frame it that, well, in order to be strong, fit, and healthy or lose weight, they can't enjoy themselves. And that's not true. You can enjoy the process, but there is a point of maximum return. So if you think of an alcoholic drink, the first alcoholic drink, and for them, they had this image of them by a pool on their vacation with a cold glass of wine. That first drink by the pool makes them feel like they're on holiday. It's part of their ritual. The fifth is just another drink at that point. So there is diminishing returns, and it's very much framed as there is a point of getting all of the benefit and just a few calories. And then after that, they can choose not to and get more pleasure from turning it down. And there is a great way of thinking of calories. I used to drink a lot of energy drinks, and there were about 300 calories per can. And I went to the gym and I put the exact number of calories in the cross trainer, and that was 297. And it would take me about 25 to 30 minutes to burn off all of the calories in an energy drink that might take me 5 minutes to drink. And once I did that enough times, every time I could have had an energy drink and decided not to, it felt like I'd done a 30-minute workout, because effectively I'd stopped my body consuming those calories, and calorifically and based on the laws of physics, it's the same as burning those calories. And therefore, it can give you a real sense of accomplishment. You get the dopamine from saying no rather than saying yes. So these are the kind of things that are in this hypnosis session. Obviously, it was created for a client that drank alcohol. That was part of their recreation, their downtime. Not everyone does. People have different rituals, routines, and what their reward mechanisms are. I think you'll get benefit from this regardless. But if you do want something a bit more customized, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule a completely free consultation call to explore working with me. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense that you are able to let go. As you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation, scan your body for any clues of tension, any stress, any worries. And as you breathe out, give permission for that tension to be released. Feel that you're breathing in more and more of that resourceful relaxation, and you're exhaling any tension, any stress. Focus on the muscles of your diaphragm. And as you breathe in, feel like you're breathing lower than your chest. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that you can fly, not in a plane or a helicopter, but that your physical body can fly like a superhero. And just imagine levitating at first, floating upwards. And I want you to imagine flying to a hotel in Palm Springs. I want you to imagine that you can breathe in high altitude, flying over the cloud line, seeing a sea of fluffy white clouds beneath you, flying over mountains, cities, endless countryside, until you make your way to a particular hotel with a distinctive pool. And just imagine hovering down like that superhero, touching down by the poolside, as light as a feather. And I want you to imagine a lounger by the pool that looks inviting. Just imagine it. Maybe see the material, the texture, the position in relation to the sun. And imagine placing yourself there on that lounger. want you to see the pool, maybe the sunshine shimmering off the surface, and maybe you can see in the distance the rugged outline of a mountain. As you breathe in and breathe out, feel yourself going deeper and deeper relaxed. And I want you to get a sense that the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you're becoming, as you feel like you're drifting off to a place where change happens. I want you to imagine next to you, by the side of that lounger, is a glass of a cool, refreshing drink. And I want you to make the decision that this cool, refreshing drink represents a great decision. And sometimes the framework for a decision is more important than the decision itself. And the reason it makes for a great decision is because it gives you a certain level of pleasure, joy, positive feelings, and in proportion to the amount of calories in that same drink, it's worth it. In the same way that you might not spend $2 on a bottle of water if you're not thirsty. But if you haven't had anything to drink for hours on a hot day and you're dehydrated, that would be a great decision. So look at this cool, refreshing drink. Imagine sipping it. And get a sense that it becomes a good decision because of its context. That it gives more than it takes. But I want you to think of a different circumstance. Just imagine you've already had 2 drinks, and the third drink really doesn't enhance your experience. You don't need it to feel relaxed, that your state of mind is already your state of mind, and therefore you'd be paying the price of those calories for no upside. And maybe there's 100 or 150 calories in that third drink. And I want you to imagine that you could just drink it, and that would be easy. But by deciding that you don't want it, feels just as good as doing 150 calories worth of exercise. And maybe that 15 minutes or so worth of exercise feels like you've done that in the split second it took to think or say no. And how often is it that you're able to do 15 minutes or 30 minutes worth of exercise in a single second? But I want you to feel every time you say no to something that gives very little and costs unnecessary calories, feels like you've done a workout of the equivalent calories simply by deciding you don't want it. And if your unconscious feels that this now gives more than it takes, that the balance is just right, you still enjoy the quality of life, and the only thing you're losing are those overpriced calories. The calories that gave you very little pleasure, but you still had to pay the price of them anyway. And if your unconscious mind is happy to make that adjustment, let me know by nodding your head. So breathe in and breathe out as you start to open your mind to new ways of thinking about your discernment. As you breathe in and breathe out, as you relax, feel the pride growing within you for all those healthy choices you tend to make during the week, knowing that they are building your strength and resilience. And maybe you can think of weekends and vacations as an opportunity to practice balance, where you allow yourself flexibility while still making choices that align with your longer-term goals. That during the week, feel that you're earning that right to enjoy more flexible choices during downtimes, knowing that your progress throughout the week supports this. Consider what you do during the week to give you that guilt-free flexibility. But flexibility is not a free pass, which is why you could be more flexible and still desire to make those great choices. Great choices are where you get the upside, but minimize the downside. As you set the intention to maximize your pleasure while reducing unnecessary calories, knowing that true enjoyment comes from making mindful and discerning decisions. And maybe you can think of decisions during your downtime as an opportunity to train your mind and body like a workout. That you take pride in those difficult decisions because that's what gives you the payoff. It's easy to decide to not do anything, and it's easy to decide that you can do anything, but those discerning decisions in the shades of grey are where you're training your mind. And like any muscle that gets trained, gets stronger with time and repetition. And you could imagine yourself navigating tempting or distracting environments with ease, feeling empowered by the knowledge that the more distractions you overcome, the greater the payoff. In fact, you desire to be in those distracting environments, knowing it will be a workout for your mind where you either win or you learn. That whenever there is, with the benefit of hindsight, less discerning decisions, that is not a good enough reason for blame and shame and guilt, but it's a great reason to think of refinements. That when you're in that downtime, it doesn't hurt to imagine you have a time machine and relive that downtime, looking for easy wins, refinements, subtle differences that maintain the amount of pleasure and save you calories on future similar situations. And I wonder if you can think of weekends and vacations as your training ground, a boot camp, where making good choices feels like lifting heavy weights in a gym, challenging but rewarding. The more difficult the decision, the heavier weight you are lifting. and how you make better decisions in the future is sometimes by making not so great decisions in the present. It's not a failure, just a feedback loop. So let the idea of discernment during your downtime become your workout, knowing that each healthy choice is like building a mental muscle, adding to your long-term success. And what if making mindful decisions in particularly distracting environments becomes a rewarding challenge, like training at altitude, so that when you're back in less distracting environments, it all feels easy. I want you to think about optimizing your choices as you imagine yourself making decisions that maximize both pleasure and health, no longer seeing them as mutually exclusive, finding the sweet spot that allows you to enjoy your downtime without sacrificing your goals. Think of those vegetables or fruits or healthy proteins that you enjoy anyway. Enjoying yourself does not mean that it has to be the case that you're sacrificing health and nutrition. There will be certain things that give you both, where you dovetail your outcomes, achieving multiple things in one choice. Feel the sense of accomplishment when you choose foods that nourish your body, even when surrounded by temptations. Perhaps you can imagine a dinner party or a restaurant, and you seek out the most nutritious, healthiest foods on the menu or what's available, feeling that there is a win-win outcome to enjoy the moment and make progress on your goals. I want you to feel empowered by a realization that your downtime, those weekends and vacations, are not setbacks and not even distractions, but opportunities to strengthen your decision-making skills. And maybe you can imagine the deep sense of satisfaction you feel as it becomes easier and easier to navigate those environments. Having a greater feeling of being in control, and that your choices are moving you toward your ideal future and best version of yourself. So breathe in and breathe out. See that refreshing glass by the side of that lounger now empty, and deciding that you could have one more but don't want to. Feel a sense of accomplishment, as the pride can come from the choices you make. Unlock all of the resources to find it easier and easier to focus on progress rather than setbacks. And then levitate up from that lounger and feel that you're flying back to your physical reality now. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. As I'll count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will return to the here and now, feeling empowered, feeling optimistic, feeling that the best workouts will be through your choices and don't have to be in a gym. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.